You know what that music means? It means it's time for some more 8-Bit Bourbon. Welcome to episode 2. We're your hosts. I'm Andy Polidor. With me is Anna Baynard. Today we're going to be talking about Zelda, A Link Between Two Worlds on the 3DS. We're also going to be bringing in a great friend of the show, Jeff Liccardi, to be talking Battlefield 4. And we're going to start talking about our first foray into the podcast world.
Yeah, it was, I'm going to just jump right in here. It was definitely an interesting experience. Sorry, I've had a couple eggnogs and bourbons. I may stumble a little bit here, but
yeah. And let me stop you right there. We'd like to thank Bullet Bourbon for tonight's episode, a family of small batch, award-winning whiskeys with unparalleled spice and complexity.
And if I must say, I know you don't totally agree with me, the best-looking bottle in the bourbon business.
Well, and Bullet, I think, is a very apropos name because we like to take our empty bourbon bottles, we like to put them in Adam's backyard, and we like to shoot them with his pellet gun.
We are gonna people are gonna think we're such rednecks.
Yeah, well, we're really not. But if shooting a pellet gun at bourbon bottles is redneck, then I guess we are.
We go from the dainty cinnamon sticks in our eggnog. We left that part out. But we have cinnamon sticks. Don't worry about that. We actually searched our local grocery store for cinnamon sticks just to put them in our bourbon and eggnog. Yeah. And now we're talking about how we shoot bottles in my backyard.
When you shoot the Bullet bottle, it doesn't even leave a mark.
It's like the fucking Terminator.
With a pellet gun.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
But we don't know. Maybe it would.
Maybe there's some Skynet in there.
Yeah, it could be. And we're also sponsored by Red Bull.
Yes.
Our lawyers tell us we should mention we're not sponsored officially by either of these companies. But
who does not sponsor us? I think that's everybody sponsors us.
Well, just listen to our podcast. Yes. We'll get into some more. And as you said before, we promise episode 2 will be one episode, not 3 parts.
Oh, yes.
If you're confused by our iTunes account or wherever you're listening to us, we apologize for having 3 parts. I just wanted
to take a moment and thank Andy, especially you and especially Chad, for just hammering out this last week. This week must have been hell for you guys. Like, I have a full plate, Andy has a full plate, Chad has a full plate, but I've been unavailable all week, and you guys have just 100% nailed it. You got the social out there. You got the recording out there. You guys killed it, and I'd like to thank you guys.
Oh, I appreciate that. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I was very confident in it. I kind of thought that it would be, you go to iTunes, you upload your podcast, they host it, you put your title in, and in reality, you have to start a WordPress. You have to link it to a middleman, like a feed burner. And you know, I did a guide where every step I was looking at multiple guides. And you know me, I'm a very techie person, but I just knew nothing about podcasts. Yeah. So it took a lot of time. And Chad did a great job editing because we really gave him a raw recording because we didn't really know much about it. And he really like chopped it up and he did a nice job.
We took him out to a nice sushi dinner with a lot of sake bombs and a lot of hot sake. And we promised him something nice and easy. And then we gave him a steaming pile of shit. He turned it into something that we are very proud of. And I hope that you guys are proud of. The response we've gotten is pretty good. I want more. And I'm going to give a little brag right here. We were on iTunes. We were on the new and noteworthy.
Yes, we were very excited about that.
In our first 24 hours, we were up there. Up there with some big names. And that was good to see.
And, you know, we really appreciate the nice things that were said, but we also want to hear the negative things too. We want to hear how we can be better. We want to hear it all, you know. As we've said a million times, 8-Bit Bourbon is our Twitter handle. 8-Bit Bourbon is our Instagram. 8bitbourbon@gmail.com is our email. Contact us. We will talk. Any questions, we'll talk about them on air. You know, we want to hear from you guys. But yeah, it was a whirlwind week, and getting 3 episodes up was very hard, and getting the artwork together and all that stuff. But I feel pretty proud of what we did, and we couldn't have done it without Chad. He really made us sound a lot better than we would have if we sat here with our laptops and, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one shout out I feel like we forgot to give out. The first song that we actually played on our episode 1, part 1, was the Futuristics, but it's a band by Chad and Al Perone. Mm-hmm. If you guys have a chance, I don't know if he has a Twitter. I really don't know if his information, but
as we said, their Facebook is the Futuristics -NY.
And I believe he sang majority of that, and he's just a very talented guy. a great guy, like one of my favorite people that I know, and I just wanted to give him a little shout out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't want to leave anyone out here. My brother Ben was a big help with the tech side of it, with the Twitter and social side of it. Jeff came on today, and he's going to talk Battlefield with us. So there's a lot of people to thank, but overall it was a stressful, but it was a positive experience, I think.
Yeah, and I again, thank you for doing your job. Like, I feel like I didn't do a lot, but I thank you and Chad for just leading the ship, and I feel like we're going the right direction.
I think so too.
I really do. We're going to clean up everything you guys are worried about. We're going to clean it up, and I promise you guys, we're into this as long as you're into it, and even if you're not into it,
we might just blast it out there anyway.
We're just going to keep going anyways.
I have to say though, after this week, I don't think I can listen to my voice for another month. I'm so sick of hearing myself talk, going through the editing process.
I do kind of like myself. I think I sound a little sexy, just a little bit. But let's get into this stuff. All right, we were talking about friends, and let's talk about the oldest of our friends. We met him back in, I think, probably 1999. We were 5 years old.
Yeah.
Who is he?
Well, he is Link.
He is Link.
And the game you're talking about is Zelda.
Can I give you a little confession?
Go ahead.
I was one of those people that thought Zelda was Link.
Yeah. Well, that's a very, very
I
common
still
thing.
don't understand why they call it Legend of Zelda.
I know. She's just the princess that's getting saved.
Okay.
One of my earliest memories, when you put it in that way, was I went on East State Street in Johnstown. I remember this when I was in the Tire Center apartment, so I must have been
now people know where I live.
Yeah, well, that's true. You didn't have to say that. But I was less than, we moved here when I was 2, and we probably lived here till I was 10. So I was between 2 and 10. Obviously somewhere between, something like that. I don't know.
It's crazy. Like, I came up here a year after that, and you guys were in the big house over yonder.
Yeah,
I'm not going to give you your parents' house.
No, yeah, don't give the exact address.
I got myself.
But what we're basically saying, like between 2 and 7, I remember on East State Street there used to be this like horrible movie and video game store, and I can't remember because I was so young that like I barely knew how to play video games, but I remember this gold label. It was either the original Zelda or Zelda 2 for NES.
Yeah.
I brought it home and I played it, and I was blown away. And I didn't even appreciate what it was necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't appreciate how it was advancing the video game industry because I had no real, I played a few Mario games, but I was a kid. I was a little kid.
Yeah.
But I still, and I have I'm so bad with having early memories. I remember that to this day. I remember that label. I remember putting it in, and I remember playing it, and it was a pretty hard game. At least it was when I was a little kid. But that's like one of my first video game memories.
One of my first memories is I don't even know what I was doing. I was fighting these weird.
Can I just say I didn't know what the hell it was? I picked it because it had the label. I thought the label was pretty.
Awesome?
Sorry, go ahead.
I believe it was my Uncle Matt. He got me my. I don't believe this part. This part is fact. He bought me my original Nintendo. He got me in the gamings. He was in the Air Force and at the reserve base or whatever he was in. I don't know the exact term for the stores, but they were like Nintendos were sold out everywhere, but they still had a supply. He bought me and my brother one between the two of us, and he got me like just a system. But then later, like a couple years later, he got me the Legend of Zelda, but it was the gold plated one. It was like the legit one. I wish I still had that today.
Yeah.
And I remember playing one time, and I got this crazy what was the white and purple sword? Do you remember that thing? That's like my only real memory of that game.
I mean, was it the Master Sword? I don't remember
I don't know if it was, but I had to fight like these crazy dudes, and I pulled it, and I grabbed it, and I was like, this is the best
I just
thing
assumed
ever.
it was a Master Sword, but I remember very little about the game.
What is this game called? What are we talking about?
All right, it's the 3DS Zelda. It's called A Link Between Two Worlds, and it is not a sequel to A Link to the Past.
Okay.
But it's set in the same world, and I don't know what you would call it, but I would call it a sequel, but it's not really, because it's not, the story isn't really related. It's just set in the same world. Now, full disclosure, as you know, and as I said in my review, if you go to medium.com/@AndyPolidor, which is my Twitter, POLIDORE, Zelda: A Link to the Past, the SNES version, is my favorite video game of all time.
Really, the SNES version?
Absolutely.
Better than the first Legend of Zelda?
In my opinion, definitely. Okay. And I love all of them. I would say Ocarina of Time is my second favorite, which is the 64 version.
What was the SNES version? Was
A Link to the Past.
So where's the Link's Awakening come in? Were you not a Link's Awakening
That's
fan?
a Nintendo game.
Oh, so you weren't a Link's Awakening fan?
No, I was, but I was so young.
Oh, okay.
I barely remember it. And I have played it. A Link to the Past. It's not A Link to the Past being the best game of all time is not a unique opinion. It's very well known as one of the best games of all time, but it is my favorite game of all time.
See, I have no memories of that game.
Okay, so you know me. I don't beat games multiple times. In fact, sometimes I don't finish games at all. I would say I could count on one hand the amount of games that I've beaten multiple times the whole way through. I could count on 3 fingers the games that I've beaten more than twice, and I could count on 1 finger the amount of games I've beaten more than 5 times. I've beaten A Link to the Past probably 10 times in my life. Jesus. I beat it 5 times on SNES maybe, and I've bought it for other systems or emulators on my computer. It is my favorite game of all time. So when I heard that the 3DS version was some sort of sequel, I actually bought a 3DS just to play this game.
You got a hell of a deal on your 3DS.
I did. One of our high school friends was selling theirs.
You stole that thing.
I just basically threw, because you know what? I wanted to tell myself that I wasn't just getting it for the new Zelda.
Yeah.
So I kind of threw a lowball bid, like, well, if she sells it for this, I'll take it. And no one else offered anything. So I'm going to say what I got it for.
Can I just say, the first time I ever saw a 3DS, I was at Best Buy. And it was like a 3DS kiosk. And I played it and I looked at it. I'm like, this is the worst looking thing ever. Like the 3D graphics were like in my face. And it was, like you turn your head a little.
Hurts your eyes a little bit,
right? The 3D graphics, the way they did 3D graphics in Zelda, I've never even thought of them doing that way. It's like you look down into the world. It's really cool. And it's amazing. Like, I never thought of 3D that way. And the way they do that, it's like
it actually adds to the gameplay.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to see more of it. Like I've only had like maybe 30 minutes with the game. Let me try it out.
Yeah,
just so I can be
you
educated.
should borrow it and beat it because it is a great game. But one of the things that I say about it is the 3D in it. You could totally play the whole game without you could put the slider down and play it in 2D, and it's still a great game. But what's really cool is there are certain parts where there's multiple levels in a single screen. So like not like multiple floors in a dungeon, but multiple levels on the same level, if you will. Or there's flying creatures that go from the ground floor to flying. And if you have the 3D slider on, you can see where they are. And I don't want to give away too much, but there's a mini game where you have to avoid certain things and you have to go under the flying guys. And I feel like you could not do that well without the 3D, but you could actually, and I showed you, I was like, hit the, I can't remember what it's called, but it's one of the items and it twirls you up into the air.
Very cool.
And you were like, wow, that's really cool, right?
Yeah, and it does it very well without coming out of the screen. So I think when stuff comes out of the screen,
it's not a gimmick. It's totally a gimmick when that happens. Yeah.
All right. So give me the rundown and review because I'm going to try to play the devil's advocate on Zelda after this. Okay. I might make a lot of people mad, but give me the rundown and review.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's start off with this. It's my favorite game of the year. I'm not saying it's the best game of the year.
Can we just say it's 8-Bit Bourbon's game of the year? Because I don't have a game of the year. I don't have a vote. I feel like
if you're going to play devil's advocate, I don't know. We'll see.
No, I firmly believe that it's a good game.
Yeah. No, it is. It's my favorite game. A lot of it is because it connects me to my childhood so much. Like A Link to the Past is still one of my favorite games ever. It's for many reasons that it would take too long in this podcast to go through, but it just... Well, let's start with this. It has the same basic world, okay? So you're home when you wake up in your bed. It's just how Link to the Past is.
I can't wait to attack you on this.
Oh, I can't wait. It's the same house. The village to the west. It's not the same, but it's the same spot. The castle is just north of your house. It's the same spot. But what they do is they introduce you in a very nostalgic way before they kind of pull the rug out from under you and show you that it's a completely different game. So I want you to play devil's advocate. Go ahead. Ask me some questions because I don't know I don't want to give you an entire 10-minute rundown of it.
Why should I care about this game? Why?
Why should you care about this game?
Because it's the same story. It's got to be the same story. Like Nintendo always plays this princess. First of all, it's named The Legend of Zelda. What legend does Zelda actually have? She's a loser princess who just gets captured over and over, and then this random boy that's never met her wakes up from a wet dream and has to go save her.
Well, that is true, and I actually discussed that.
It's ridiculous. The story is dumb.
I actually discussed that in my review.
It is dumb.
Zelda games have never been about the story. They really haven't. The princess gets captured. Link has to save her. They do a much better job with the character development, with the world development. That's what it's about. Just in the same way that it's a little bit of a bad comparison, but Mario, the princess always gets lost. You got to save her.
Just two terrible stories.
Yeah, absolutely. That said, it's more about you meet the characters in the world. You develop a relationship with them, and from the beginning to the end, it's not it's not The Last of Us. It's not some sort of Metal Gear Solid. It's about it gets you lost in this world that feels at the same time cartoonish but real at the same time.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Do the characters talk yet?
No. Well, can you expect that on 3DS?
There's no voice acting?
No.
So it's just like text that you just skip through?
Well, another thing that I said on that, when I play World of Warcraft, and you probably did the same thing. You never played World of Warcraft?
I'd play a little.
But with Diablo 3.
Yeah.
I like to get lost in the world.
Yeah, I do too.
I want to.
But I like to get...
But here's the thing.
Get lost in new worlds.
But here's the thing. When a wall of text comes up or a massive conversation comes up, I don't want to sit there and listen, and I just end up skipping through it.
Yeah.
What's genius, I think, about Zelda is they're not trying to sell you on some sort of life-changing story. That's never been the point. They don't pretend that that's the point. But because the little texts, bubbles of texts are so consumable, you could skip through them as fast as you want. You're still reading them. So I guess my point is you always know the story. And I know too many of our friends that get so mad at. They'll play a single-player game. They'll skip through the whole story, and they don't even know what's going on. And I think that's one of the magical parts about it is by giving you those little consumable text bubbles, it, at the same time, makes you know what's going on in the world, but it doesn't try to overwhelm you with the story because it's not about the story. It's never been about the story.
So tell me, how many shopkeepers do you get to talk to about where Princess Zelda is?
There's not. That's actually not really a big part of this game.
Not a part of this game?
To be honest, no.
How many empty bottles can you collect?
There's definitely the empty bottles.
Empty bottles?
Mm-hmm. There are.
So you're telling me this game, despite its flaws, I don't even want to call them flaws. They're just like, how great would it be to have a realistic Zelda?
Well, here's the thing. I totally agree with that. When I heard the Wind Waker was coming out, I was so annoyed because they had shown the original GameCube trailer at E3 or something, and it was like super realistic graphics, but it was totally CG. They said it was CG, but it was like, what it was supposed to look like, and they came out with this cartoon, almost anime looking Zelda.
I love cell shaded stuff.
That was one of my favorite Zelda games of all time, The Wind Waker. I was the biggest pessimist of that ever, but I thought the game was amazing. The sea was so cool. Everything was just, there's something about the fact when you're not trying to be realistic, it becomes more realistic because there's a theory for that. When you see something that's robotic but it's just not human, it almost repulses you. And I feel like there's something with that with video games where it's hard to get lost in a game when you're if there's like a super realistic human and they're speaking and it just looks a little off, it takes you totally out of the game, right? But if you're in a cell shaded world like that, it doesn't. And even more so on a top down game like that, you're not looking for realism. You're not looking for voice acting. You're looking to get lost in a game world. And, that's exactly what this game gives you.
All right, and I'm trying to play devil's advocate and talk about things like I don't understand why after 21 years since I've known Zelda, why people continually play the same story over and over again. It's always the same results. But you know what? There's one reason why I do play Zelda, and one of my greatest, most memorable video game memories is playing Ocarina of Time, swimming out to that island, putting on those steel boots and the blue tunic, and solving puzzles.
Yep.
What are the dungeons and the puzzles like in this new one?
Well, here's the thing, and this game really changes up the formula in a way that's significant. And it sounds minor, but it really ends up being a big deal. You have access to almost all of the items in the game by the first dungeon. That's weird, right? That is not how Zelda usually works. Now, Zelda usually works, for people that don't know, but I'm sure everyone that's listening does, you go to a dungeon, there's 2 big chests. One holds the boss key that lets you into the boss door, and to get that, you need to first find the dungeon item, which helps you solve puzzles within that dungeon. In this game, I don't want to give away too much, but basically you get access to a trader who you can rent or buy all of the items from. Now, when I say all of the items, there are a couple that they save till later, and there are items that you get in the dungeons. And I don't want to give away too much, but you don't require the item in the dungeon to solve the dungeon. And to me, this was genius because you have to walk into a dungeon with your eyes open to everything. And that's what I like. When you get the arrow, when you get the bow and arrow in a dungeon, you're looking for things to shoot. You're looking for doors to open with an eyeball. In this, you have to kind of, anything could be possible. It could be a bomb door. There could be anything. And there are other items that they do introduce. And a lot of them are just perks that are power-ups that you want to get. And the funny part is you can complete a dungeon and not get the special item.
Really?
Which is crazy, right?
But can you buy it from the store?
No, you have to get it. If that's a dungeon item, you cannot rent it or buy it. Those are specific to that guy's store, basically. Mm-hmm. But obviously, as if you're a Zelda player, you cannot finish a dungeon and not get the special item. But that's what's cool, right?
Why would you even go in there?
But that's what's cool. You have to say, hey, I got the compass, which shows me where it is, and I have to sit in this dungeon until I get this. But that's what I was going to say too. What Zelda does better than any other game ever, in my opinion, and it's not even close, is it is the masterclass in puzzles. The puzzles, if you take one dungeon out of this 3DS game, or a lot of Zelda games, it's more ingenuity, more creativity than entire $60 releases. It's the puzzles are so smart. There's one dungeon where you go in. You go through the entire dungeon. You have to save someone and leave the other way. And on your way out of the dungeon, the puzzles are completely different. And there are puzzles that you see in the rooms that you didn't even see on the way in because you weren't looking for that. You weren't looking for 2 people able to do 2 different things. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to give it away any more than that, but every puzzle is so brilliant. You think to yourself, like I said in my review, when you get ahead of them and you do an entire room of a dungeon without making a mistake, you're like, haha, I got you, you son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like the developer, you're like, but you know what they were trying to do. And what's brilliant is when you see an item, it's obvious. You have to use an arrow here, you have to use a bomb here, but they add that one layer of depth more, because they're kind of teaching you as you go. Yeah. With their puzzles, which a lot of games do, but the next time you see it, you say, "Whoa, I've seen that before." But they add that one layer of depth more, where you say, "Damn it, they got me again," and it's just like that the entire game.
So you're saying what I should do is buy a Zelda 3DS XL? I believe that's what the package is called.
I got to tell you, it looks sexy. I have the regular 3DS; it's black, of course, as you know, which we talked about before. I bought it from someone used.
You got a great deal on it.
But what I said, the way that I wrapped up my review is the 3DS has kind of made itself a must-have item. I mean, if you're looking at the games of the year, there could be 1, 2, 3 that are on the 3DS, and I'm talking all systems.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say that the hours of enjoyment you get out of Zelda are going to be, The Last of Us or some awesome multiplayer game. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, what you get for the hours you put in is so good. And it goes to show that you look at the game, it's ugly. It's blocky.
I don't think it was that bad looking.
Well, you know what I'm saying, though. I mean, when you're comparing it to an Xbox game, it's blocky. It's a top-down semi-3D. And I'm not talking 3D effect. I mean it's a top-down 2D game that's semi-3D.
Yeah, can I just say, if you've ever had any hesitation about buying a 3DS, this is the reason to buy a 3DS. I don't know. I'm trying to play devil's advocate.
And there are really great games out there.
This game and the 3D effects are the coolest thing I think I've ever seen in a video game. I was expecting Link to be outside the screen. I was not expecting to see walls. And then it looks like 10 feet deep.
We haven't even talked about the effect where you merge into the walls, which adds a whole new layer of depth.
It's just so neat and so smart of the way they handled the 3D.
It's a great game, and it just goes to show that Nintendo gameplay at the end of the day means everything. It trumps graphics, it trumps online, it trumps everything. both of us wish that the Wii U could have just been a next-gen console that could play third-party games, so we could get our Zelda fix,
Actually,
so we could get our Mario fix, so we could get our Smash Brothers fix.
You want to know what my wish was?
Sure.
And it might come true. Nintendo making games. I would love to see their consoles go away, have them produce next-gen games on Xbox One, PS4, and maybe even just stop everything they're doing altogether and make mobile games. How sick would it be for $1.99, 99 cents to buy the original Mario Brothers for Android, for
Almost
iOS?
stop you right there. If they make mobile games, I'll throw a shit fit. I
Why?
do not want them making mobile games. Touchscreen games are not the future. They are the past.
I mean,
they could release those games without making
But at
them.
the point, it's not about us. It's about them making money. And if they made a 99-cent Super Mario Brothers, they would sell 20 million copies of it.
Yeah, but how many copies of a $60 game? I mean,
I don't know.
You have to sell a 60th of
I mean,
them.
I saw for the month of November, they sold 220,000 Wii U's.
Well, obviously their hardware. What they did, I think their mistake was the Wii was cheaper than the other consoles. It had the motion controls. It caught on with families. But I feel like it was a gimmick that didn't really catch on. And what the Wii U is missing, and it's what the Wii was missing, is that it can't handle Battlefield 4. It can't handle Call of Duty Ghosts. Like, it can't handle the third-party games. And if we could have Xbox, but let's just say it was Nintendo 7 with Battlefield 4, with Call of Duty, with Assassin's Creed, and we could play Mario, and we could have a robust online experience, which is the biggest thing it's behind on. I mean, it's generations behind on that. I mean, that would be amazing. But they feel the need to make these cheaper systems with these gimmicky things when at the end of the day, you don't need the Wii nunchuck. You don't need the gamepad with the screen, which I actually like the idea of, but they made it too cheap. That's a whole different conversation. But they need gameplay, and their gameplay is the best.
Yeah.
It consistently, it's the best.
Speaking of gameplay that's the best, let's talk about gameplay that's the worst.
Sure.
And right now, we're going to hop into a discussion with a friend of the show, Jeff Liccardi, and we're going to talk the bad thing that has plagued the new consoles, has plagued PC. It was one of my most anticipated games of the year, and it has made a shitstorm on the internet. And we're
not enough of a
not enough of a
shitstorm.
shitstorm, and hopefully we get to the point that we're gonna make it a shitstorm.
Yeah, these major publications, they need to go back and re-review this game.
Because you know what, I was on.
It's a joke. How high the reviews are.
I was on Polygon today, and there's still Battlefield 4 advertisements up in the air.
Well, they're one of the rare game sites that re-reviewed it. Are they not?
Yeah, they are.
I think they lowered it by like 5 points or something crazy. Which, by the way, is we're gonna get into this, but what review do you give a game that doesn't work?
Yeah. I don't know.
Can you give it a 3? I mean, honestly, if you can't play it, what do you give it?
I mean, if you played it straight through, if you played single player straight through without stopping or turning off your
if you turn off your Wi-Fi, unplug,
I'm sure you'd be good.
Right. But the problem is the single player, I probably wouldn't give more than a 6 anyway.
No, I wouldn't.
So.
I wouldn't play more than 15 minutes.
No.
But yeah, we're gonna jump into that right now. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope please share your experiences with us. If you have any Battlefield experience, we'd love to hear, because seems like we've all had different experiences.
Especially you guys out there that have it on PS4 or computer, because we have it on Xbox One, and it's been a nightmare, but we've heard it's bad on both of those platforms as well, or Xbox One nightmares.
Yeah, and I haven't heard anything bad about PS3 or Xbox 360, but if you guys are out there and you're playing on that, let us know what's going on.
Yeah, good stories, bad stories, anything.
I just want to hear, because I honestly want to know, because it's very interesting.
It's not being covered enough. It's really not. For a AAA title to be this bad.
Like we talked about in our first episode, how people move on quickly. Like, you got to give a little credit to Polygon. They came back, they did a review, but nobody else is really talking about this. When a patch comes up, they're talking about it, and that patch thing we talk about in the second part is laughable.
Oh my God, it's high comedy, and we're happy to talk about it later.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about it, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and please keep listening.
Alrighty, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear a little segue music by our producer, Chad Johnson, and we're going to be right back with a special guest and talking a little Battlefield 4. Stay tuned. Welcome back, boys and girls, and as promised before, we're going to talk a little Battlefield 4. We've brought in a good friend of the program, Jeff Liccardi here. He is a web advertising guru. He's a CrossFit maniac. He loves playing Journey on his brand new keyboard, and he's a fresh New Hampshire resident. Welcome, Jeff Liccardi, to 8-Bit Bourbon.
I've never been given an intro quite like that before.
Did I throw you off there a little bit?
Yeah, it's diverse. I wanted to jump in really fast and say, "And we're back," to throw you off, but
you sound like the most interesting man in the world, I think, from that.
Except the Dos Equis guy, 'cause he's the only one that's got a leg up on me. So So this is part 2 of episode 2. Am I the first guest of the show?
You are the first guest.
The first guest, yeah.
So then I think I deserve to have an official title.
Yeah, and I was gonna. Me and Andy thought long and hard about this, and I think you're gonna like what we came up with.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
We didn't come up with
Yeah,
anything. It was really hard. We did give it like 2 minutes.
We actually did.
We thought for like 2 minutes. We're like,
wow,
this is impossible.
Well, we could.
You're telling me, wait a second, Adam. You're telling me you dedicated 120 seconds to
we
figure
tried.
out.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It probably takes you longer to take a shit. Just to
well, it takes me way longer.
I only shit when I'm getting paid, so my shits only come at work. I will hold a shit the whole night.
You're actually making
go
money.
into work and then poop.
All right, we're off the rails here a little bit. We will come up with a nickname for you, maybe by the end of the show. But for now, this is Groundhog's Day a little bit because we ran into our first major podcasting problem. We had a corrupted file, and this is the second time we've recorded this Battlefield 4 conversation, which is very frustrating for all of us. But Jeff, you were a Battlefield 3 player. Me and Adam have never played Battlefield, so why don't you give us a little info why you like the Battlefield franchise in general before we get into the new one?
Yeah, second time back. First time I was drinking some awesome beer from Goose Island. This time I'm drinking Airborne by the gallon and a bunch of tea because my voice is shot to hell and I feel sick. But I'm doing it for the podcast, doing it for the fans.
Yeah, dedication.
So Battlefield 3 is a little bit different than a lot of the other first-person shooters because they really do just have a great way of pitting people together. Mm-hmm. Against each other. So I love it for the large battles and the large maps. So 32 versus 32, 64-player experience where you have some sort of objective, often holding areas like King of the Hill style or capture the flag. Mm-hmm. You're doing it on foot, in vehicles, and in the air. And you're in squads. So you're working together not as a team of 32, but as independent teams of 5.
Right, and you actually get rewarded for working together in a very meaningful way, which is very cool.
Yeah, so that's relatively new to Battlefield 4. Battlefield
is it?
Did not really care too much about how well you work together as the squads.
Okay.
The bonuses didn't occur in the same way. That's new to the game, but it's awesome, or at least on the PC, I should say. But on the Xbox One, the bonuses are new.
Yeah, and I just want to say it's almost like a Diablo. Like 3 or a World of Warcraft kind of thing. I know it doesn't hit all the points of RPG or MMO, but it challenges you and it challenges your group to adapt. Like you could have a sniper that targets things. You can have an engineer that goes strictly for the vehicles. You can have a little assault squad.
Are meaningful.
Yeah, and you
in
think
this
about
game,
your classes. You think about your attachments. You think about what you want to bring with you. Mm-hmm. And it's a blast.
Yeah, pull out your inner dork. I need my tank, I need my healer, and I need my DPS.
Yeah, I've never thought of like a video game like that. I'm a Call of Duty player. This is my first real experience with Battlefield. I played the beta for 3, and I didn't care for it, but I'm really, really enjoying what we play.
When we play. So let's get the elephant out of the room.
Yeah, let's stop praising the game and let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Jeff, kick us off with that. There's many places to start.
You install the game. You buy a launch day Xbox, right? I got an Xbox with a controller that says like day one, thank you for investing half your paycheck in Xbox One. Mm-hmm. You pop the game in. You go to play it. Obviously multiplayer first, because who goes to the campaigns? And other than your brother.
Right.
What you do is get a whole bunch of loading screens, a whole bunch of errors that say server not found or no commander slots available, whatever the fuck that means.
Whatever that means.
And then when you finally do get into a game, a whole bunch of times you get dropped out if some of the Levolution experiences happen, or even if you're just playing, there's a whole bunch of freezes. There's a bug right now where bullet damage is being multiplied, which I believe has been fixed. But
yeah, I think the bullet was hitting you multiple times or something, because there were times you'd turn a corner with 100% health and you would get killed by the first bullet. And I believe it's some sort of one-shot kill thing, but that's, as we have, that's the least of the worries I think we have.
Bugs are bugs. I want to sit down and play.
Well, all games have balancing issues. That just happens. You can't test for every single thing.
Right. Now, okay, so Jeff, you said the squad abilities in Battlefield kind of set it apart from other first-person shooters. And now let's talk about the party system. And me, you, Adam, and a bunch of our friends, we like to get into a party. We want to get into a game. We obviously want to be on the same team. We obviously want to be in the same squad. And server issues aside, it probably takes us, we got to play one full game where we're killing each other. Then we finally get on the same team. And then it takes us another half a game to get in the same squad. And I don't know, do we blame Xbox for that? Do we blame Battlefield? I'm not really sure, because the party system on Xbox is definitely messed up as well, where you can't turn on party chat.
Yeah, I think it's just some nice mixture of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who's to blame, but I'm going to hold both parties responsible, and here's why. I believe in this idea of participation, and I participate with brands, and I make 1,000 decisions every day about whether or not to participate with these companies, and I chose Microsoft and EA and DICE, and I want it to work. I want the experience to be as told. They gave me a message, I responded to it, I bought everything that I needed to buy, $110 later. And and
let's say
when I get in there, I want it to go. And
when you invest in companies that large, part of the reason is because you just expect it to work. This is Microsoft. This is EA. They shouldn't have servers that don't work. They shouldn't have party systems that don't go between games. It's not like we're talking about a $10 indie game here. This is a major AAA release.
No, it's not Dota from Steam, Dota 2, which is also an awesome game, but it's big time developers, lots of money. EA is a publicly traded company, so is Microsoft, and they're coming into some criticism for this. And look, at the end of the day, it's probably more EA's fault.
I would agree,
it
for
is
sure.
Microsoft's, but Microsoft's still putting it out on their platform.
Mm-hmm. And Microsoft is allowing them still to use their own servers. And I don't play FIFA, but Adam's roommate, he plays FIFA. Our friend Chad plays FIFA. It actually just got patched, but for the first, month of the release, they had, it was, impossible for them to get into a game. The server crashes at Battlefield, the same idea, and that's another EA game, and they're using the EA servers.
And I just want to say one quick thing for the kid that has his middle finger to the screen or his iPhone or however he's listening to us. This problem, all the problems that Battlefield runs across PC and PlayStation 4. It's not just Xbox.
Right.
We're talking Xbox because we play on Xbox.
This is our experience, right?
And the fact that Sony and I don't know how PC games get out. I don't think there's any real regulation. They just come out, don't they? Does anybody stop them?
No,
I don't think so.
But still, Sony and Microsoft, they have the big launch game that just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. And now, Jeff, why don't you run us through starting a game with your friends, getting into a server, and how awesome that is?
Well, you're hoping that no one is already in a game, because if one person's in a game and everybody else isn't, you're not going to be able to get into party chat. Mm-hmm. For some awful reason, you can only access party chat when you're in the main menu. Now, I don't know if that's the case in other games, but in Battlefield, if you're in a game or you're in the game at all, whether or not you're on a level and playing, you can't party chat it up. You got to come back. So you got to leave the game. Mm-hmm. So then all of you jump into quick match, multiplayer, and pick, no matter what your game type is, every person should be cramming the A button to join servers and then to accept if your friends are joining, because it takes forever to get one person to join that server, and then you just want to follow all your friends in. That's what you're hoping to have happen. And it takes about, I don't know, it's been taking 30 minutes, although I'd say today, last night, I had some experiences where it was only 5 or 6, and I only had to I only had to join the server a couple times. The downside is...
It's been a little better.
Yeah, it's been a little bit better.
Well, there's also the patch that's been out.
Yes. Right. I mean, they tried to fix some stability stuff, which is great. And, But there's still some weird things happening. Like I'll put in for Conquest and I'll end up in a rush match, which was still a very fun game, but it wasn't what I was looking to do.
Well, EA is just trying to keep you on your toes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They're just trying to get you to explore the full game. The other problem I think we all have is the transparency. So if we're all in a party, one person starts a game, and it's a nice feature of Xbox, I guess, where like if I start a game, it automatically invites you guys. But when that's not working, it's just this shit show of like what is going on. Like I start a team deathmatch, it might never start. Sometimes you guys get the invite and I never get in, but then you guys get in, and then I get an invite that's not even a game that you're in. It's just like you don't have any idea. Or sometimes you just hit start and it'll take you back to the main menu.
And if we do get into games, we'll be on separate teams.
Right, that's something that like the original Xbox was able to handle towards the end of it.
If you're going to decide to take the option for a developer to have to create a party inside the game, that stuff has to work.
Right.
It's up to the developer and it's up to Microsoft to figure out. I mean, we don't really have any PS4 experience, so this problem could be the same. But they need to figure this out.
Right. If there's a game-specific party chat, what in God's name is the value added if it doesn't put us in the same team?
Yeah,
you know, what's the point?
I don't have an answer to that.
It's bizarre. Another thing with Battlefield is random crashes. That's been fixed a little bit. But Jeff, do you have those patch notes in front of you that just launched the other day?
Sure.
Yeah, just read us a couple of those to show how good this game has really been running.
Well, so we touched on a few things with the one-shot kill. Some reduced probability of getting corrupt. Well, let's just skip multiplayer for a second. So reducing the probability of getting a corrupt save file in the single player campaign. So technically, this game doesn't work at all because you can't play multiplayer.
Well, it likes to alienate everybody.
I like the fact that the wording is not eliminated too. It's just reduced. You know, you put 6 hours in a single player, we reduce the chance that you'll be put back to the beginning.
Yeah, very very vague. We've fixed a memory leak that could lead to crashes at certain points. Now, this isn't my fucking kitchen sink. This is it's a pretty complex piece of software, and there's going to be stuff that happens, but one of them should not be decreasing the performance of the Xbox, which is what that would be doing.
Yeah, true.
I'm really excited that they made the icons used to signal voice chat status more reliable.
It's big. That's what we were really waiting for.
In addition to that, they have fixed some issues with the handling of the Xbox One parties. We're not really sure what that is.
Yeah.
I think this one is a real highlight. It's a real gem. Fixed an issue with going online after resuming your Xbox One from suspended mode.
So every time you've ever turned your Xbox on ever, pretty much.
Just about, yeah. So that's great. There's some stuff in here with the Levolution features where buildings were falling and causing people to get thrown out of the game. They're a great rant. Fans of the Angry Joe show out there, check it out on YouTube. He's got 9 minutes of leather jacket wearing, hair gel using fun, all about Battlefield 4. And
does he really get worked up over this? Because I can see myself getting worked up over this.
Well, if you've never seen the show, you should check
I haven't.
it out.
I'm going to have to.
He gets worked up about everything.
Okay.
But, it's his thing. But it's pretty good because it's just like, he's raging on some people in the game. And then all of a sudden, he must be playing on a PC. That little Windows like chat box pops up. It says like you've had a corrupted file or something. We've experienced a fatal crash or whatever. And he just flips out because must have been fraps in it or something. It was great.
It's nice to know that it's not only us. It's the PC, and that's an even bigger black eye. It's like I guess you can understand that if the Xbox One, something about the architecture, if they couldn't figure it out, but the worst part is they've got to go back. They got to patch PC, PS4, Xbox One. This is why this is taking so long.
Yeah.
And with games like Destiny and Titanfall on the horizon, they don't have much time. So Jeff, you said before you spent $110. Why don't you explain what that meant?
$60 to get the game. I paid another $50 for premium content. So I get all the downloads for free. So the DLCs, they're going to be $15.
So let me ask you, how's the first DLC patch that was supposed to be ready like the first week?
Yeah, it's not present. It's not been downloaded.
Undownloadable, right?
Yeah, they've also suspended all future expansions until they fix the game.
Right, until you can actually play the game.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
Yeah, that is. I swear this is unprecedented for me for a AAA release, launch or not.
Yeah.
And Well, we'll get into what we like about the game in a second, but one last thing I want to say was what Jeff alluded to, which is the game's unplayable in every way because, so my brother Ben, he doesn't play a lot of video games. He probably plays 4 hours a week, maybe. That's high. He plays the single player when he gets frustrated with the multiplayer. You know, he might have an hour to play. When it takes 30 minutes for us to get into a game and get on the same squad, he doesn't want to deal with it. He goes and he plays single player. So to his surprise, he got about 4 hours into the game and he got the game wiped, not once, but twice. So you bought a $60 game for your brand new Xbox One. It got 9s and great ratings from all the major reviewers. You can't play multiplayer and you can't play single player. I mean, honestly, I've never heard of a game that more deserved a refund.
Yeah.
You know?
But I was going to ask it a point because I'm at a stage where I don't go to stores to buy my games anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm going 100% digital copies. Who do I talk to for this?
It's a great question.
Because if you have a problem with a game, say you buy it at GameStop, you could probably take it back and they might give you like an in-store trade-in or they might give your money back and let you switch for like a Call of Duty. But who do I talk to now? Yeah. Can I call Microsoft and be like, hey, this game doesn't work? Because they're probably going to ask me, did it download right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more complicated.
Yeah, because it's really not Microsoft's fault that there's a game out there that I choose to download that doesn't work.
Yeah, you can totally call Microsoft though to have that conversation.
I wish you would call Microsoft just so we should
get a Microsoft rep on our podcast. Just not tell them they're on here.
That's actually not a bad idea. I think that might be the end of our podcast. But.
Okay, it's not Apple, right? Apple's the one that really controls your podcast future, not Windows.
Yeah, that's a good point. Apple, we love you, even though we gave up our iPhones many years ago.
And your GarageBand killed our first.
And your GarageBand corrupted our second episode.
But Jeff, you touched on this earlier. You said you don't know who's to blame, like Microsoft or EA or Sony. Do you blame the developer DICE at all for this?
Well, I don't. So DICE is a developer, and I'm certain that they knew these issues existed when they went to go to EA and say, you know, here's the game. Here, we're at the deadline. These are all the problems that still exist. Someone still made the decision to push it forward. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling, I don't have any sort of proof, that decision probably would have come from EA.
Yeah.
Not DICE.
I mean, I agree because DICE, they want, you know, EA has to worry about this, the stock and all that stuff. DICE just wants to put out the best game possible to, you know, increase the value of their brand. So I can't imagine they were like, hey, you know, you can get into a game 1 out of 10 times. Why don't you guys put it out?
Yeah, this is EA's like big shooter. I mean, Call of Duty, Activision has 3 studios working on 2 games year round. So they have a game every single year. And DICE was responsible. They did Battlefield 3, and then a year later, they got to push out Battlefield 4. I mean, these problems, like, should we have seen this coming?
Maybe. And
you got to dump it out on Xbox 360, PS4, PS3,
that's also
Xbox
true, yeah.
One, and PC.
Well, and what's frustrating is we all like Call of Duty. We kind of just thought it was getting a little stale. It doesn't. Yeah. I think the main talent left for the Titanfall. Yeah. What is that? Respawn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, our friend has Call of Duty. It works perfectly. It works like you expect. You start a game, you get in a game, you don't have any server crashes. There's something to be said for that. If I was a solo online player, if I was just, you know, I like to play online, but I don't really like play with friends, I would have tried to get a refund and bought Call of Duty already.
I mean, there's 3 studios working on 2 games, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
One of them only does the online part.
But at the end of the day, whatever it is, maybe Battlefield should have been delayed. But at the end of the day, they don't release Call of Duty games until they work. Now you could say they don't update them that much, whatever. At least they work. You know, that's the baseline for a gaming experience.
It makes you wonder what's next for the Battlefield series because DICE was removed from Battlefield, the next one. And it's clear that the experiences that we've had, the good ones, that DICE knows what they're doing, and they can make a fantastic
now,
game.
Jeff, we all had a great time last night. God. Speaking of that, so why don't we talk a little bit about why we do like Battlefield? Some of the experiences that you don't really get in other games, Call of Duty or otherwise.
Yeah, so we had 5 people at a party last night playing Conquest 32 on 32 on maps that really we'd never seen. This was our first time doing it. Mm-hmm. and we had some of the sickest games, some of the most fun gaming experience I've had in years. We started off in a level where we didn't know what we're doing. We're running back and forth, calling out different locations for us to sprint across the board. We've got one guy sniping, calling out targets, marking targets with the right bumper so that we're getting squad bonuses left and right for it. We're doing the same thing for locations. We're getting in vehicles and driving each other around. We're having a riot.
Yeah, no idea what we're doing with the vehicles, but some of the most fun times I've had in a year playing video games.
Yeah, and in case you listeners aren't familiar with it, we were playing Conquest, and pretty much Conquest is a series. It's like 5 or 6 different spots, and it's like domination. You capture a point, you hold a point,
but it's like a super large scale version of that. It's a 32 on 32 game type, which is really what sets it apart.
One thing I was not expecting about this game is that I didn't know about the changing environments.
Yeah, that's the Levolution you're talking about, Jeff, right? That's
insane.
What they call it.
Yeah, so we were in I forget what it's called, but there's a huge antenna and a massive radar piece in the middle, and
the GoldenEye level.
The GoldenEye level.
I believe that's where Trevelyan died.
Yes. Oh boy.
Nerd alert.
And we're back.
I'm sorry, I blacked out there.
We didn't cut that out.
So big antenna that you can snipe off of. And by the way, if you can get up there and put one of those little spawn points and snipe up there all day, you'll
very annoying for us.
But when you make the transition in time, or somebody puts enough artillery shells into that antenna, it falls over and changes the level, and you can get caught underneath that shit. We went to the Goldman Railway next, had an amazing game, and the cool thing about that level is 2 of the points are actually on railroad cars and are going back and forth, and there's machine guns on them. And what was awesome is we got into tanks, and so we were in the M1 size tanks, so the large format tanks, because there's light infantry vehicles, and then there are massive tanks with artillery. Driver has artillery and a secondary machine gun, and then you have a gunner who's got a 360 spherical view of the world and can protect against anti-air, but also pick people off. We rode those 2 tanks up into spawn points, up into these domination points, and just wrecked people. Yeah. I mean, we had a riot.
And in a 32 on 32 game, we had all 5 members in our squad, I think, and we won the game for our team. Yeah. That was we took those tanks and took over 2 spawn points. And then then the end of the game was probably the best part.
And all you non-PC, non-PS4, non-Xbox One gamers, you guys have no idea what it's like to have 64 players in a match. It's insane. It's a madness. I've never seen, I haven't played PC games in years. It's insane. Like, you see planes chasing each other, helicopters.
Battle on the other side of the world. It's so weird.
And when a plane crashes in front of you that you don't know what's above your head, it's crazy.
It is.
It's one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in a game.
I think the older we get, or the older I get, I don't want to speak for everyone, but it's those water cooler moments that we talked about in the first podcast where today we're talking about our game last night. We used to do that with StarCraft and Warcraft, right? We wake up the next day and be like, remember when that happened? And that's that multiplayer fun that we really look for these days, because we all live different places and, we want to interact like that. And so at the end of the game last night, same game that Jeff is talking about after we were in the tanks, they tried to take this spawn point, which is almost like a mini level.
Not a spawn point. Well,
I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
They were holding, I think, the most easily defendable.
Oh my God, the thing was a fortress
inside.
Yeah. It's like Fort Knox.
It seriously took us 15 minutes to even get close to it.
Yeah, that's true too.
Snipers all over the place. I'm walking in there all aloof in my pretty little engineer class, skipping, maybe prancing a little bit, and I'm just getting picked off left and right, watching these guys with 40x scopes.
Oh, me and Ben had a great time.
Off to the side. Yeah, so then we sat there and we got together as a squad, as a group, and we started coming in. We started coming in from sides a little bit, and we moved ourselves around. Some tanks came in, so we brought in RPGs. We marked those up and used some of the guided artillery, anti-artillery weapons. We got inside. And so once we were inside, we got to a very well-defendable place, and there's a really cool function in the game. It's squad spawning. So if my squad members are somewhere and I die, I can spawn on top of them. So we basically just got to a position where we only needed to have one person alive.
And there was probably one of us alive 12 times. Yeah, only one.
But Jeff did save the day when he climbed that ladder, because we all got wiped and you went up high and hid. I don't know if you're hiding or trying to take out tanks, but we were up there because we were stuck in think of a back of a tractor trailer and then take it down We were stuck in this little thing with 2 tanks on both sides of us.
Adam locked himself in a shipping container, and he was just trying to stay alive. And me and Ben were running around trying to pick off the people around. Jeff was up top trying to take out the tanks. And we must have been down to our last man standing at least 5-10 times in the last 10 minutes. There's a
spawn delay when you die. So
right.
You can't overrun people.
Right, yeah. So the idea is, too, you lose your squad bonuses if your entire squad gets wiped. But we weren't worried about that. But the best part was, I think because we had more people in the area, we were taking the...
we did, yeah.
Right,
so
that was the idea, right? That's how we took the domination point, whatever you call it.
Yeah, and the game mechanism, the win or loss comes in tickets. When you have 0 tickets, you lose. And you get tickets by dying, or you lose tickets by dying, but you get tickets back, or your ticket loss slows down if you revive people, or if you take over a lot of objectives. And so taking over, essentially, because we took this one, we had either 4 or 5 objectives. And it turned the game. We ended up winning
the whole game, yeah.
It's also
it's an 800 ticket game, and we won by 15 tickets.
Yeah.
Could I say it's bullshit that we had presumably what was in our party?
32 people.
There 4, so we had 24 people on our team.
Yeah.
Or 32 people on our team, right?
With 32 total,
so
yeah.
Where were the other 28 people when we were trying to do that? We were seriously fighting maybe 10 guys.
There was
4
no.
of us.
I think our entire team was just holding the other points, but yeah, I think a lot of people just try to get up, snipe their own place, and rack up the kills or whatever.
Our team sucked.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
We didn't lose the other spawn points. We didn't lose the other objectives. And you know what? Did you see those dogfights? They were badass.
Dude.
Yeah, I still have yet to get in like a B-52 bomber, but I see those things. Like, to me, that is a computer fighting a computer. Like, that's so far from my mind.
I got lost in like space when I tried to fly a plane. I was so far gone, I couldn't see what was up and what was down.
My experience with helicopters, because I have not driven one yet, is usually I get in one, I'm the gunner, and I see the pilot jump out and parachute like immediately, and I'm trying to shoot people on the way down, and I don't remember the buttons to get out. Like, that's pretty much my experience with the air support. So I'm very happy to see someone else do it. Jeff, you're trying to upgrade yourself to kind of be a vehicle guy, right?
I like the engineer class in the larger maps. I use a carbine, and I put a short distance scope on it and then a magnifier. So I can double my distance and shoot a little farther when I need to. And then I keep the repair kit with me so I can repair vehicles. And I like it. It's fun. So, yeah, I mean, light infantry vehicles, it includes a lot of the boats that you'll see in the water levels. Mm-hmm. And then the single person kind of machine gun or anti-artillery weapons that will be on the maps. And the Lav is one of them. It's a lot of fun. But they're great because you can typically put 1 or 2 or 3 passengers in that can shoot out with their own weapons or shoot out with some sort of other, attached gun, and you can level them up just like you level up your firearm.
You could really make a difference if you, like that one game, what is the water level? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't remember. It's the one with
whatever it is.
Little military insulation. The Levolution is where the boat comes off of the windmill.
Yes, can we just talk about that real quick?
Because
I didn't know that happened, first of all. I don't know if you did, what? Adam. The large boat that gets disconnected and ends up like running aground.
Yeah.
It was when me and Adam were on a jet ski.
We were out there jumping like 40-foot waves.
Yeah, we're like the perfect storm. You can't see 10 feet around you because the waves are so tall. They're so tall you can't go over them. You have to actually go under them on your jet ski. But we didn't know that this happened because there's random weather environments that make this happen. And if you go to 8-Bit Bourbon on Twitter, I linked the video to this. Adam's driving. I'm on the back. He goes over this wave, and all of a sudden, we're running into this massive, aircraft carrier that's on fire. Adam screams, "The Black Pearl!"
It makes is crazy. It sounds like almost like the sound of War of the Worlds, like those alien ships made.
Right.
Boom, like that.
And then it ran aground.
And I just spun that jet ski out, so I had the other direction.
It scared me a little bit. It makes you feel so small in the game type, but at the same time, in that you feel so small in 32 on 32 with all this Levolution going on, but like we said, we actually single-handedly as a squad won the game, and that's what's very cool about that,
Well, to be clear, there was another guy in our squad who went 42 and 1.
Yeah. Listen, don't worry about that guy.
That little guy.
And he was driving one of those boats around the whole time.
That guy's a cheater. Right. He probably had remember when we were getting killed by tanks and you were trying to explain that you can upgrade your tank like a gun with different guns? That guy had every slot filled with things that I've never seen before. I was like, no wonder we're getting killed here. I'm trying to shoot him with like the grenade launcher underneath my gun.
Might as well have had a slingshot, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
All right, I have a question for you guys. I have a couple questions. I'll go with this one first. This game, we had mentioned, it was reviewed quite well, like for anywhere from like a 7 to a 9.
More in the 8.5 to 9, I would say too.
The one website that we know, Polygon.com, they actually went back and re-reviewed it. They updated the review. They ended up giving it about a 4. What do you guys think this game is? Is it the 4 or is it like the 8?
Well,
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'd give it 8 bottles of bourbon, hands down. I mean, it's a fun gaming experience.
It's a great idea. I'm gonna have to Photoshop that soon.
It's just you just gotta get in. And so once the server issues get fixed, it's gonna be great. Here's the only challenge: is this game is very dependent on the amount of people playing it, right? Because you get your big teams versus big teams. And you want a lot of those going on at the same time because you want the matchmaking to be relatively fair. You don't want to be jumping into games against ranked 100 people if you're ranked 12 all the time.
Right. The less players, the more unfair it's going to be just due to numbers.
Large numbers. Yeah. Yep. So I think they've got a time limit on fixing this because if all of a sudden Titanfall is out, I got an option to play Battlefield, which is still kind of clinky, or Titanfall, I'm probably going to go check out Titanfall.
Yeah.
If I really like it and it's easy to play and I can jump on and play one game quickly, I'm probably going to switch.
Right. It doesn't show you a server list that you have to refresh like a computer game, which like my brother was saying, that's why we play console games. We don't want to have to look at that stuff. We want to say, hey, we want to play together, put us in the same squad on the same team.
So
go.
Where are you at? Andy, where are you at?
I mean, it's a hard question because I honestly, it's one of the games I've enjoyed the most in a long time. I would give it something like a 9 for multiplayer, but I got to give it a 1 right now. I mean, it doesn't work.
I would say the 4 is fair.
Yeah, because you can't play single player. And Jeff, what you just said is interesting because I was thinking about this last night. You just reminded me. Do you think that the game is getting a little smoother because people are stopped playing? You know what I mean? There could be, because Jeff, we've played at noon on a Wednesday before, and we haven't had really a problem, right? It's definitely a congestion-related problem. So I wonder if people are saying, "Fuck this game, I'm going to play something else," and that's why it's going smoother. And that would be really disappointing because when you have, like Jeff was alluding to, when you have 64-player games, you need a lot of people to make the matchmaking fun and quick and fair.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Jeff or Ben said it last night, but he actually kind of said the opposite. He says these Battlefield fans are loyal. He can't believe there's still 64 people willing to join this match.
Right. We're trying to get into Jeff's game, and it's 64 out of 64 for, of course, we're believing dice when it says that, obviously. Yeah. But it does seem that way because Jeff will check the scoreboard, and it'll say 32 on 32.
Yeah, it seems like there's people like that are waiting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, and also they might just be clinging to the first game they got into in the last 2 hours. It could be that too, but there's definitely enough 64-player games going on where there are a lot of people playing still.
All right. Also, the second part of my question: do we recommend this game? I'm a no. I say I'm a big proponent of not buying used games. I don't think anybody should buy used games. If you do it, I don't hate you. I understand why you do it. I like to support the developers. But if you can buy this game used, I highly recommend buying used and then reselling it and maybe buying it used again and then reselling it. But the only way I say buy this game right now in its current state is used or if there's some kind of sale. Yeah, maybe $30.
I'll be the contrarian.
Go ahead.
You should be because you spent $110 on it.
You're heavily invested.
I need more players. No, I think that it's just gonna be a matter of time. They'll get the stuff fixed.
Yeah, but as consumers,
here's the deal: if they don't fix it, it's the death of a franchise.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's definitely true.
Yeah, but I don't think it is because next year those come out with Battlefield 3, Bad Company 3, or whatever. Battlefield Bad. It's gonna be the same thing.
But I'm not gonna buy it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think this would be. Death is a strong word, but I do think that this would be bad for Battlefield. It would be, I wouldn't buy it.
So they need to learn a lesson. I feel bad
it.
for DICE because I think DICE is one. After playing this game and seeing like what it does when it works, DICE is incredibly talented and it's amazing. This is something that Call of Duty will not do. I think Titanfall will do this. I think they'll probably do it better. But nobody else is doing what they tried to do. and what they
it's
sort of succeeded on doing.
It runs so incredibly once you get in a game. 64 player mayhem. I don't ever see a stutter or anything.
But the point is, the game just doesn't work.
But you got to get in first.
Yeah.
No, I would definitely not recommend it until they fix it.
So we give it like a
There's a 0.33 repeating probably.
we give it a rubbing alcohol on the scale of 1 to 10 bourbons.
It's an impossible review because we all love the game, and that's why we're so frustrated. If we thought this game was a 7, we would just say, fuck this game. We're not going to play it anymore.
Yeah.
No, we'd just be playing Peggle 2 all day long.
Which we strongly recommend for $12. You get a lot more bang for your buck.
Seriously.
But yeah, it's frustrating too because the major gaming publications, I understand they're under a lot of stress to get reviews out quickly, but if they sat down and played this on a local area network and reviewed it and said, hey, multiplayer is awesome, that's not fair to the consumer. And that's why I think we both are fans of Polygon. They're very controversial. People say they're owned by all sorts of companies because they don't like the reviews, but they're not afraid of giving a major game shit score because they don't like it.
And the guy that wrote it, Arthur Geese, he's absolutely not afraid to do it.
No.
He'll do it. He doesn't care. He'll stand up against anybody and give anybody
it makes you wonder.
Review.
It makes you wonder two things. Does EA have a lot of power because they invest so much money in advertising and stuff? But number two, are these guys actually playing the game after the 1 day session of reviewing it? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know what it's like to be a game reviewer or in that world. I don't know if you have to move on quickly.
You might have time to play games you don't want to play.
They might check in on it, and maybe because we can go a day without a bad experience, so maybe they play once a week and their experience is bad, so they can't really relate to it.
I don't know about that. If they're playing at night, I have way more bad experiences.
Saturday I had no bad experiences. Sunday it didn't work. Today I had problems.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's why I enjoy having this podcast though, because we don't have to we don't have to waste our time playing Knack for a week to review that. I hate to harp on that embarrassing game, or was it NBA Live?
Yeah, if I had to review Knack, I would just roll the dice and 2 dice, and whatever the score came up, I would have gave it.
All right, great game, bad game. Who cares?
Did a little video review, just watch the trailer and comment on the trailer. That's my video review, and I'm done. I'm out.
All right. Well, I think we're running out of things to say about Battlefield. Nice and bad. So Jeff,
nice and otherwise.
You guys want to go play Battlefield?
Yeah. Well, that's the fun. That's what's so frustrating.
I know.
When we get off this podcast, we're probably going to get on. We're probably going to try to play Battlefield.
Oh, that reminded me. I wanted to. We're not going to do it soon, but eventually, if we get enough interest, we'd like to do I would like to do. You guys play with us.
Yeah.
We'll get to the point where once we get to know you and we'll have a couple dates, and then maybe we'll give you our names.
Right.
Hand in the small of your back.
Yeah.
Buy me a few drinks, loosen me up.
And maybe we could make, how awesome it would be to have a couple 8-bit bourbon squads on a Conquest match.
That would be fun. And that's what's cool, too, is that it's such a massive game that we could play together, even in separate squads.
All 3 of our fans, we could probably get 2 squads going,
Oh, boy. All right, Jeff. So last word on Battlefield 4. You have anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to say about what you're drinking? Any Journey you want to play in the background? It's up to you.
No, just go for it. Give it a shot. The more players, the better my experience. So please log on and play.
And it really is. It's a brilliant game. It is. And that's why we're so fired up about this. We would have just stopped playing. All of us could afford another game if that's what we wanted to do, but we really want it to work because it fits all of us too, where the casual player and the hardcore player can all have fun together.
Yeah. My top 5 multiplayer games ever, Halo 1 on those rigged servers we did back in the day. I would say Modern Warfare 4 or Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, Black Ops, I don't know, something else. And they're up there. This is such a good experience when it works. And if you can go out and play it, go play it. But don't buy it. Steal it.
So EA, you want to stop being voted the worst company in the world?
Start selling cigarettes.
Fix your goddamn game. Fix it. Make it work. Because we're trying so hard to give it a good review, but we can't until it works. All right. Well, we'd like to thank Jeff for coming on, talking with us for the second time. Once again, this is Groundhog's Day because this is our second time talking Battlefield 4. I hope we covered everything we did the first time. If you're looking to follow Jeff on Twitter, he is J Liccardi, JLICCIARDI. He posts many things, both good and controversial. You can follow probably some videos there of us sucking at Battlefield. And yeah, Jeff, anything else, man?
No, that's it.
All right.
Do you want us to edit out that part where Andy said he plays with you at noon on a Wednesday?
I know you can leave that part.
I think I should edit that out for myself just as much as Jeff.
It's mildly inappropriate.
Well, we're not going to mention where Jeff works, although I kind of hinted at it in my intro. Anyway, Jeff, thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, we're closing out. One last final thank you to Jeff Liccardi for joining us. He was amazing talking Battlefield 4. You guys can find him at J Liccardi. That's his Twitter handle. And that's about it. We're done. We're going to go having a couple more drinks in this wasted frozen tundra we like to call upstate New York. And we're going to close you out with a song by one of my favorite podcasters. This guy, actually, we don't really have a relationship, but I used to hate him.
Is that right?
I just didn't understand him. But I've been listening to him for years. He just came out with a new album. He's got some sweet songs, an instrumental. You guys may know him, you may not, but his name is Brian Altano. You guys can find him at Agent Bizzle on Twitter.
Go ahead and spell that.
Jesus, you're gonna make me spell on this thing. It's at AGENT Bizzle, BIZZEL, and he's got a new album. It's called Misanthrope, and you guys can find it at www.misanthropealbum.com. The best thing about this album, it's free.
I have to say, I didn't know much about him. I mean, I know who he is. I really like it.
Yeah, and can I say
I really do,
and
it fits our podcast.
And
I feel
like I'm going to stay in the spirit of Brian Altano. If you guys know who he is, he's very honest. I'm going to give you a little honesty. I thought his first album, Robotobots, sucked balls. I thought it was terrible. Like, he may not like it that I said that, but I do like him. And we're going to leave it with one of his songs. This song is called If You Need Me, I'm Gone by Brian Altano featuring Thomas Radowitz. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry if I ruined it up.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. And we're going to have our boy, the best producer in the business, clean this up. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Chad Johnson is taking us away. Brian Altano, we're using your song. Thank you so much for giving us permission. I'm Adam Baynard.
I'm Andy Polidor.
We're 8-Bit Bourbon.
Thanks, guys.